I actually had a client come to me about 3 weeks ago who thought she was eating like perfectly. She's in her 40s now. She always was like at an ideal weight. But the last 2, 3 years, she started gaining weight. She's like really unhappy. She wanted to lose about 10 pounds. She wasn't that overweight. But she said, Mike, I'm eating perfectly. I've been eating like this my whole life. I'm eating tons of salads all day long. I eat a tremendous amount of vegetables. I eat brown rice, whole wheat bread. I mean, a lot of quinoa. I mean, all these like great foods. I don't know what is going on. I just started gaining like weight. I'm like 7 to 10 pounds heavier than I've ever been in the last couple of years. So what I typically like to do with this, first of all, that's not my favorite type of diet. That diet can work, but it's not my favorite. So the first thing I like to do with someone like that is I want her to start tracking exactly what she's eating. The first thing I want to see is how much proteins, fats, and carbohydrates he's eating within a diet. And those are her macronutrients. I want to know what her ratios are. Like how much protein, how much fats, how much carbs, right? I want to see that. Secondly, I want to see how many calories is she eating, right? Is she eating like an insane amount of calories? Is she just loading up on like the pastas, the rices, the breads, even though she thinks they're healthy? Is she just eating too many calories? And then the third thing I want to see from her is how frequently is she eating? Is she eating 3 meals a day with multiple snacks? Is she eating only 2 meals a day? That's a big factor too, because I talk about this in all my videos. When it comes to losing weight, you have to focus on three things. One thing is food quality, right? If you eat all processed food, all junk, cookies, donuts, pretzels, cakes, and you're not getting any real food, that's a big problem. Even if you're not overeating, you're gonna have an issue there, okay? Secondly, it's so important how many calories you're eating. Even if you're eating healthy foods, but you're gorging yourself 3 times a day with snacks, you're gonna have a problem. And thirdly, when you eat, has a lot of importance too. For example, you have to go through periods when you're in a fasted state on an empty stomach. You can't wake up in the middle of the night, even if you're eating well, and throw something in your mouth. And you have to be in a fasted state with insulin levels low, with certain hormones low, so you can dip into fat stores and start burning stored energy. Okay, so that's what I did with her. And I always recommend the same app. You can use any app you want. I always recommend MyFitnessPal. So I want her now to start entering all her foods into MyFitnessPal. And she did that. So I looked at like 3 days of her diet. And this is what it turned out to be. Her fat calories were relatively low. She was eating maybe a 15% like low fat diet, which is okay. That's fine. She was actually eating a lot of carbohydrates. Almost all her calories, I would say 75% of her calories were coming from carbohydrates. She was eating a very low protein diet. Maybe like 10-15% of her calories was coming from protein. It was like 30 grams of protein a day. I think that was the big mistake she was making within her diet. And I talk about this in other videos too. See, protein is by far the most important macronutrient, in my opinion, for multiple reasons. Number one, it has the highest thermic effect. That means when you eat protein, you're gonna burn up 20, 25, even 30% of the calories within that protein, just digesting and processing the protein. So if you eat 100 calories of, say, protein, you're gonna burn up 20, 30 calories just digesting it. So the net calories could be as low as 70 calories if you're consuming 100 calories. That's one main reason why you want to eat more protein. Plus, there's so many vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in protein. In my opinion, if you're not eating an adequate amount of protein, you're malnourished. And that's gonna make you hungry, just being malnourished. Plus, there's no way you're gonna feel satisfied from all the food you're eating. See, protein is the most satisfying food you can possibly eat. Think about it. You sit down, you have a nice like 8-ounce piece of salmon with some vegetables. You're full for hours. But sit down, have a bowl of pasta with like steamed vegetables on top, right? Which is people would consider to be like a nice low fat, relatively healthy meal, which it's reasonably healthy. You're gonna be starving 2 hours later because you're gonna get that spike in insulin that's gonna store away that increase in blood sugar from having such a high carb type meal. So this is what we did with her. The first thing I did is I wanted her to change her macronutrient ratio. I wanted just to cut back on carbs a little bit. Instead of eating like 70, 75%, get it down, maybe to 50%, which is reasonable. And I just want you to up your protein. Make sure you're getting, on my formulas, I talk about this in all my videos, zero point 0.9 grams per pound of lean body weight. I want her to get at least 110, 115 grams of protein every single day. I wanted to have a real 8-ounce piece of maybe fish every single day. I wanted to have maybe 2 or 3 eggs every other day. I want to just increase the amount of protein. She wanted to stay relatively low fat. I said, okay, pick lean cuts of meat. So that was the first change we made. Secondly, when it came to calories, she was actually pretty good on calories. I thought she was maybe a little bit high. My formula for calories, like if you want to lose weight and you want to reduce calories, is that you take your body weight and you can multiply your body weight, but maybe 10 or 11. So for example, if you're 150 pounds, you want to eat maybe 1,600 calories a day on the days that you're restricting calories. And she was a little bit over that, so I said, you know what? Don't do it every day, but every other day, go into a calorie deficit. So I wanted to eat 10 times her body weight every other day in calories. And I would say that was relatively easy for her to do because I'm a big believer in cycling your calories. See, I don't think it's good to be in a calorie deficit for extended periods of time because your metabolism is going to slow down no matter what when you lose weight. But if you're constantly restricting calories to try to lose more and more weight, you can over-exaggerate to slow down in your metabolism. So it's good to some days eat more, pop up your metabolism, like eat more protein one day, get that thermic effect, boost your metabolism. Other days eat less. So that's another change we made within a diet. She started cycling her calories, some days eating less. And how I had her do that was with that third step when it came to food timing, which really made it easy for her. I told her, you know what? 3 days a week, don't eat breakfast. You're going to eliminate 300-400 calories from your diet right there. And she said, Mike, I can easily do that. To be, truthful, I wasn't even hungry in the morning. I just thought it was a good idea to eat in the morning. Like she'd have like some fruit in the morning and maybe some yogurt, or she'd have an oatmeal, with a little granola. She was eating like that. I said, you know what? Eliminate that meal. That's going to help you reduce your carbs. It's also going to help you reduce your calories 3 days a week. And we'll see what happens because she's a relatively new client. I know it's going to work for her because I've done this with like hundreds and like dozens of clients in the past, and it seems to work. So if you're having a hard time like losing weight, let's say you've been eating the same, it's always worked for you, and now all of a sudden you started gaining weight, do these 3 things. Get MyFitnessPal on any app you want. Start tracking your macros, your protein, fats, and carbs. See where your ratios are. Most likely, in my opinion, you're probably eating too many carbs and probably not enough protein. So you may want to make an adjustment there. Secondly, take a look at your calories. Look at your body weight. Take your body weight, times it by 10. If you're eating like 1,000 more calories, if you're 150 pounds and you're eating like 2,500, 3,000 calories a day, you got to start reducing calories. And you can do that intermittently. And then thirdly, just take a look at how frequently you eat. If you're eating 3 meals a day, even if it's good food, with like 2 or 3 snacks, you're never letting yourself dip into stored energy, stored body fat. You're always spiking insulin. Like whenever you eat, your body produces insulin. And then when insulin is high, you're not burning body fat. You're constantly feeding the furnace, right? But you're not dipping into stored energy. Do those things. It's really going to work for you. Now, if you want to learn more about, say, intermittent fasting, I have a great video about it. Check out this video. It really explains all the benefits of being in a fasted state.